Shalom, and welcome to the only podcast brave enough to tackle the eighth wonder of the world, finding an apartment to rent in Israel. I'm Moshe, and I've seen more Israeli apartments than a building inspector with severe commitment issues and a caffeine addiction. Between you and me, I've spent the last 5 years navigating the beautiful, terrifying, wallet-emptying world of Israeli rental agreements, or, as I like to call them, contracts written by people who clearly peaked in law school and decided to take out their frustrations on innocent renters. Let's start with everyone's favorite game. What does this Hebrew legal term actually mean when translated by someone who definitely Googled it 5 minutes ago? First up, seizure money, which sounds way more dramatic than key deposit. But honestly, in this market, seizure feels pretty accurate. Like, yes, you are literally seizing my money and my will to live. My personal favorite lease term is reasonable damage. I love this because it implies there's such a thing as unreasonable damage. Like, what crosses that line? Did you throw a rave, host a camel race, install a hot tub on the balcony? I need specifics, people. And can we please talk about security deposits? I once had a landlord ask for last month, security deposit, and what he called just-in-case money. Just in case of what? Nuclear winter? The Messiah's arrival? Your hummus goes bad and attracts ants? The man wanted enough money to fund a small country's defense budget. Time for listener submissions, aka why I started this podcast in the first place. Rachel from Tel Aviv writes, I went to see a spacious 2-bedroom that turned out to be a 1-bedroom where they'd hung a curtain down the middle of the living room. The landlord insisted the curtain side was every private and had excellent feng shui. Rachel, I admire your landlord's creativity. Nothing says privacy like a shower curtain from IKEA that still has the price tag on it. Moshe from Jerusalem sent this gem. The landlord showed me an apartment and proudly announced, as you can see, it's fully furnished. The furniture consisted of one plastic chair, the kind you see at bus stops, and a menorah from what appeared to be the Carter administration. Moshe, that menorah probably had more personality than most Tel Aviv studios. Plus, built-in holiday decor. That's value added. But my all-time favorite came from Dana in Haifa. I asked about the water pressure, and the landlord demonstrated by turning on the kitchen faucet. A single drop came out. He said, and I quote, perfect for water conservation, very ecological. Dana, your landlord missed his calling as a marketing executive for the Desert Tourism Board. Let's talk about apartment viewings, shall we? In normal countries, you call, you schedule, you show up. In Israel, you join what can only be described as a rental Hunger Games, where the odds are definitely not in your favor. Picture this. 40 desperate souls show up to see a studio apartment that costs more than my parents' mortgage in suburban America. Everyone's clutching their bank statements like they're golden tickets to Willy Wonka's factory, except instead of chocolate, we're competing for the privilege of paying 40% of our income for a closet with a hot plate. And the speed. Israeli apartment viewings happen faster than Eurovision voting. You have approximately 30 seconds to decide if you want to spend the next year of your life in what the listing generously called cozy, but what your eyes are telling you is a place where dreams go to die. My strategy was always to bring homemade cookies. Nothing says responsible tenant who won't burn down your building like fresh cookies, right? Did it work? I got exactly one callback. They ate my cookies and rented to someone else. I'm pretty sure they held the viewing just for the free snacks. Time for landlord bingo. Because after 5 years of this madness, I've identified the main character types you'll encounter. First up, the nostalgic uncle. This landlord insists on telling you the complete history of the building, including which famous rabbi's cousin's friend once walked past it in 1953, and how the apartment has so much character because the previous tenant was apparently a very spiritual person who burned a lot of incense. Spoiler alert, that spiritual incense smell is probably mold. Next, the micromanager. This person wants your work schedule, your grandmother's maiden name, 3 professional references, 2 personal references, a character witness, and a letter from your mother confirming that you were, in fact, properly potty trained. They also want to know your astrological sign because Scorpios can be difficult tenants. Then there's the philosopher. They spend the entire viewing explaining their vision for the space and why the broken air conditioner is actually an opportunity to connect with your inner strength and embrace the Mediterranean climate authentically. The missing kitchen cabinet door? That's open concept storage. Very European. And my personal favorite, the optimist. In their world, everything is either vintage, translation, broken since the Oslo Accords, charming, translation, so small you'll develop claustrophobia, or full of potential. Translation, bring a hard hat and a good contractor. All right, let's get real for a minute. Here are some actual survival tips from someone who's lived to tell the tale. First, learn this phrase and practice it in the mirror. I want to think about it. Master the art of saying this while slowly backing toward the door without breaking eye contact. This phrase has saved me from more disasters than I can count. Second, always, and I mean always, bring a measuring tape. Spacious in Israeli real estate means you can fit a bed if you sleep diagonally and don't mind your feet hanging off the balcony. I once saw an apartment advertised as a cozy studio that was literally smaller than my childhood bedroom closet. The kitchen was a hot plate balanced on a plastic stool. Third, read the fine print like your sanity depends on it, because it does. I once signed a lease that included a clause about shared responsibilities for building cat care. I became an accidental cat co-parent to Mr. Whiskers, who, by the way, was a lovely cat but had very expensive taste in food and an attitude problem. And finally, always have an exit strategy, not just from bad apartments, but from awkward viewing situations. I once got trapped in a 45-minute sales pitch about why living without hot water builds character and connects you to your ancestors. That's all for today's episode of Lease Me Alone. Remember, if you're hunting for an apartment in Israel, stay hydrated, keep your expectations lower than the Dead Sea, and always carry emergency snacks. Next week, I'm diving into the mysterious and often magical world of Israeli maintenance requests. We'll explore how to say, "The sink is flooding my neighbor's apartment below," in 7 different languages, and still wait 3 months for someone to show up with the wrong tools. Until then, may your deposits be returned, your neighbors be quiet, and your rent be... Well, let's just focus on the first 2. This has been Moshe, reminding you that somewhere out there is an apartment with your name on it. It might be overpriced, under-maintained, and the size of a large refrigerator, but hey, it'll have character. Shalom and good luck out there in the rental jungle.